so much for your patience and understanding. Regrettably, I was just on the phone with President Biden, and he shared his deep disappointment at not being able to join us this afternoon. The President has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID. So, of course, we understand that he needs to take the precautions that have been recommended, and he did not obviously want to put anybody at risk.
Meanwhile,
a bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You've got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Joe Biden just got hit with some bad news, okay? More bad news for Joe Biden, okay? As he's trying to save his candidacy, as Democrats are demanding that he drop out of the race, okay? Joe Biden was on the road. I believe he was in Nevada, and he was about to deliver a speech to the Latino civil rights organization, Unidos, and come to find out, Joe Biden had to cancel that speech because he tested positive for COVID. And I want to talk about that, but before we get into it, I want to let you guys know, if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, you can check out my merch, like, for example, my Make Biology Great Again shirt. You can check that out. It's one of my favorites, especially the MAGA red shirt that I think looks pretty good on me, and it's also pretty comfortable as well, too. You guys can check that out at my website, gforemanbcp.com. Get 20% off using discount code TEAMBCP. Roll the clip.
Let's go over to Dana Bash, because I know, Dana, you've got some new details on the political situation that President Biden is facing in the context of this diagnosis. So, Dana, what are you learning?
There's a scramble going on right now, both in Wilmington and at the White House, but right now mostly in Wilmington, of course, where the president's campaign headquarters is, because they're trying to figure out how to salvage as much of, if they can do any of, the schedule that the president had planned. If they can do any of it remotely, if he can do anything from his home in Rehoboth. They obviously don't know the answer to that, primarily because they're not going to know how he feels. But the hope inside the campaign headquarters is that they can at least salvage some communication between the president and voters who he desperately needs to continue to connect with. I cannot underscore what David Chalian stated earlier enough, which is the feeling is, are you kidding me? This is the absolute last thing that they need, and that there is definitely a feeling that President Biden and the campaign around him just can't catch a break right now, because this was the moment, especially as this convention comes to an end tomorrow, and the focus hasn't really been totally away from President Biden, but it's been away a little bit, but the focus is going to turn even more to President Biden and what is going on with him, that they needed him to be out, to be robust, and to be campaigning. And that's not going to happen, especially given, Aaron, the fact that the clamoring from House Democrats in particular, but also other elected officials, it's not going away. And it is becoming even more intense as they get more and more polling, and they are pressuring the campaign and the president's inner circle to really try to take seriously their concerns, that it's not just about the president, but about their political viability in the House and the Senate, maybe even governors' mansions.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay. How many times have Biden tested positive for COVID now? Like 3 times? I do believe that this is the 3rd time Biden has tested positive for COVID. And he's had like, what, 4 or 5 boosters, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but because of the time that we're in right now, people do think it's that big of a deal because of the optics of how Biden is looking right now versus Trump. Trump looks strong. He looks heroic. He looks brave. He looks healthy. Biden looks old, frail, weak. Now he's sick. Like, he's actually sick. I mean, he's so sick that I believe Joe Biden actually took to Twitter to declare to the world, I'm sick, right? This is what he said at 7:22. I'm sick. 20.6 million views. This is the commander-in-chief, folks. Again, to me, this signals weakness. Okay, Biden's frail. Now, I want to be clear here. Unlike the left, okay, I'm not some sick, twisted, evil person who wishes harm on my political enemies just because I disagree with them.
No, but let me explain to you.
Where conservatives can say anything.
No, I'm not a conservative.
They can have any conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conservative.
They can have any plot. They can do any of these things. And then liberals are supposed to sit here and be like, oh my God, it's so tragic.
No, Destiny.
Absolutely not.
Let me explain.
Absolutely.
Let me explain my position, because I'm not a conservative. I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You'd like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury at how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead, that he deserved what was coming to him because he went to a President Trump rally, a man who was president of the United States until recently for 4 years and maybe again. You sound almost gleeful, Destin, and I'm sorry. That makes you, frankly, despicable.
I actually hope that Joe Biden makes a speedy recovery, okay? And I hope he recovers 100%. I hope he's feeling better than ever in a week or so. I'm praying for the guy, okay? Because I definitely don't want to see Joe Biden become really sick or succumb to COVID, right? I don't want to see that. That would be terrible for this country. I'm praying that Joe Biden makes a speedy recovery. However, again, we can't deny the optics of this, okay? That it just doesn't look good, right? It's just not a good look right now for Joe Biden, who's trying to prove to the world that he's, in fact, strong. However, he does have some of his cheerleaders, his delusional cheerleaders on MSDNC, that are trying to spin this as the equivalent of Trump almost getting assassinated. No, I'm not making this up. You have Joy Reid basically saying that Joe Biden catching COVID for the third time is kind of like Trump almost being assassinated. And if he survives COVID, then he should be treated and viewed the same way Trump is being viewed right now from a strength perspective. Again, if he survives COVID.
These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
It should.
I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should.
Wow. Every day, guys, every day, I'm just shocked. I'm like, I don't understand. How is it that in this country, we have a whole network, MSNBC, that pays these people to just give the most delusional and unhinged commentary? You do not have to go to school to say what Joy Reid just said, right? You don't have to go to school. All you have to do is just pull things out of your ass, okay? If you're good at pulling things out of your ass, which Joy Reid is very good at that, okay? Then, hey, you can work at MSNBC. All you have to do is be full of shit, right? Because that is what Joy Reid is pulling out of her ass there, a whole bunch of bullshit, to be quite honest with you, because it is bullshit to compare Biden getting COVID to Trump almost being assassinated and saying that people should view Biden surviving COVID as a sign of strength in the same way that they view Trump surviving an assassination attempt and during the assassination attempt, like rallying, right? Fist pumping, saying fight, fight, fight. It's not the same thing. It's not even close to the same thing. But here we are MSNBC, once again, trying to downplay the attempted assassination on former President Trump, okay? Joy Reid is one step away from saying that it was staged, right? That's what she really wants to say. This is what she and all of her liberal friends are probably saying behind closed doors, okay, in their Trump deranged meltdowns over the fact that Biden's losing. Yeah, that network is just, wow. I just can't believe it. I'm speechless right now. But anyways, Biden likely is going to survive COVID, okay? I'm hoping that he survives COVID. But it seems as time passes that Biden becomes less likely to survive the onslaught of Democrats that are continuing to call for him to step down, okay? Earlier today, I reported that Adam Schiff came out and called for Joe Biden to step down publicly. And now we have reports that Chuck Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, told Joe Biden behind closed doors that, hey, you should step down.
And I am told that the pressure from Democratic leaders for Biden to get out of the race is intensifying. In fact, one person who has been out there publicly defending Biden told me just a short while ago, Biden is going to see the whole house of cards come down soon. As for that meeting in Rehoboth, Delaware, I am told that this was a one-on-one meeting, just the Senate leader and the president, and that Chuck Schumer forcefully made the case that it would be better for Biden, better for the Democratic Party, and better for the country if he were to bow out of the race. And David, when I went to Schumer's office to ask them to tell them I was going to report this and tell you this tonight, absolutely no denial from Senator Schumer's office. They only said this: Leader Schumer conveyed the views of his caucus. In other words, the views of Democratic senators. I am also told that Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, has expressed similar views directly to the president.
You're getting a statement, I take it, from Chuck Schumer?
Yeah, this is a response to a report that came out from ABC saying that in a private meeting that Joe Biden had with Chuck Schumer this past Saturday in Delaware, that according to this report, that Chuck Schumer made a forceful case for Biden to end his candidacy for president. Now, this is what Schumer's office just put out. It says, unless ABC sources Senator Chuck Schumer or President Joe Biden, the reporting is idle speculation. Leader Schumer conveyed the views of his caucus directly to President Biden on Saturday. So it is not an explicit denial. It's just simply saying that they can't know what happened because Biden and Schumer were the only people in the room. Now, that same report talked about how Hakeem Jeffries, a Democratic leader, had a separate meeting and conveyed similar concerns to Hakeem Jeffries. I'm told by multiple people in Jeffries' orbit that, first of all, they're not commenting about what was actually conveyed to the president in that private meeting, but also that they point back to the statement that Jeffries had put out earlier to the Democratic caucus about how they're engaging in this ongoing discussion about what to do next in this presidential race. But clearly, if Chuck Schumer is conveying the views of the Democratic caucus, Wolf, the views of the Democratic caucus are that they are concerned that if he continues with his candidacy, he will not only lose, but could cost them Congress.
Yeah, so you see now, you heard that. Biden likely will survive COVID. However, I'm not sure how likely it is Biden will survive the onslaught from Democrats that are trying to overthrow him. And him getting COVID definitely does not help him because he can't be on the campaign trail. He can't talk. He can't give interviews. He can't do anything right now. And if it gets worse, then the calls for him to step down, to step aside, will also get worse as well. And I've always said that, listen, I don't think that Biden is actually going to fall. But he could. I mean, as the days continue to, move closer to the DNC, I think it's more likely that Biden could step down, right? Because I think that they've already kind of eyed a target to replace him. They're going with Kamala if Biden steps down. If the target was, Gavin Newsom or some governor, I would say it's a lot less likely that Biden would step down for some governor to take his spot. That's not happening. If Biden steps down, it's going to be Kamala, right? And if he does it, it can't be in a way in which he is doing it unwillingly, right? It has to be something where, again, he gets some type of medical emergency, he is incapacitated in some way, right? There has to be some reason for Biden to say, hey, I can't do it anymore besides, well, I just give up. And, my approval rating is too low. And, Trump is just going to beat me. He's not going to go out like that, right? Biden's not that type of guy. He has too much pride to go out like that, right? That's why he's not stepping down. Because if he steps down right now, although Democrats will praise him for it, the way that history will look at it, the way that he would look at it personally is that, well, I just gave up, right? I just folded to Trump, right? That's what it will be. However, if he gets some type of sickness or he's diagnosed with some type of illness that could be an excuse for him to step down, then that's probably the way that he will go. That way, he can say, well, I didn't step down because I didn't think I could beat Trump. I stepped down because I quite literally physically could not serve anymore. And that would be a much more unifying way of Joe Biden calling it quits, right? So, don't be surprised if that's the way it happens, right? If Joe Biden actually decides that he's not going to run, it's going to be because of some medical condition. In my opinion, it's not going to be because Biden says that, well, I just can't do it. I just can't beat Trump. That's not going to happen. At least when we're talking about what they're going to say to the public, okay? Because, again, behind closed doors, it's going to be because Biden can't win. In public, they'll be saying, well, because Biden's sick or he got some medical condition. But, again, the real reason will be because, again, Biden doesn't think that he can win. And one of the reasons why I'm saying this is because it seems as if Biden now is receptive to concerns about his future as he asks allies if Kamala can win. Now, again, this comes after there was a report about the Biden campaign conducting polls on Kamala versus Trump. And I said at the time, I was like, no, they're doing this as a second option, as a, well, let's see how Kamala is polling. Let's see how Kamala is doing in our own polls. And we'll see if it makes sense for Kamala to take over for Joe Biden if she can do better, right? And this new report that, again, Biden is more receptive, again, after senior Democrats are calling for him to step down, telling him to his face that, hey, we don't think you can do it. Again, I believe that it's starting to go in that direction, right? It seems as if Biden might be pushed out. It's not necessarily about if, it's more about how and when. But then again, I still don't know. So who knows? Maybe this could be the beginning of the end for Joe Biden's campaign. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I'm hoping and praying for the best for Joe Biden. I expect him to make a full recovery. But then again, it does beg questions about, is this opening up the door for Joe Biden to say, hey, I'm going to step aside and do it in a way in which he's not going to feel terrible about it? Who knows? I honestly have no clue. But what I do know is that Democrats are not giving up. The calls are getting more intense. You now have the leadership in the House and the Senate now telling Biden, hey, you should step aside. I'm not sure how much longer Joe Biden can last. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.